What's going on, y'all? Mitchell Renz, Chase Sr. here, ready to break all these questions down for y'all. This is live on our Friday show. Again, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do, but go ahead and use hashtag NFL or Super Chat. First Super Chat's coming in here from Not Webb's World. Why won't, I believe you mean Big Ben, retire?
Thank God he took a new deal and the Steelers restructured his
Millions
contract.
of dollars. That's
Yes.
your answer.
Millions of dollars is why he's not retiring. What? I think he was due to make like
41.
$35,
It was
$41 million, and at this point in his career, he is not anywhere close to worth that.
Mo Tala, get a picture. John Johnson, Troy Hill, and Anthony Walker. Yes, please. Andrew Berry is the greatest GM in the league. Do you agree with that statement?
I'm not going to say Andrew Berry is the greatest general manager in the NFL. I will say he's one of the best up-and-coming.
Agreed.
Financially, he is very intelligent because he worked a little bit with Howie Roseman, who's been a mastermind of financials with the Eagles. I'll tell you what, I love the Browns moving forward because of Andrew Berry, more so because of Kevin Stefanski, who Andrew Berry hired, so stock up on the Cleveland Browns.
Also, we got an update here on Sam Brown's Twitter followers. He's 13 away from taking a shot. So
let's
seriously,
go. Come on. Let's go.
13 more, and Sam's going to go ahead and take a shot.
We got it here. It's waiting for Sam. Let's go.
Jeremy Screws, excuse me. Hear me out. KC with Clowney would be finger-licking good. Do you agree? Well, Jeremy Screws, if you're a fan of the Chiefs, go check out our Chiefs channel. It's at youtube.com/ChiefsTV. It is actually one of the fastest growing, one of the top Chiefs channels out there on YouTube, always keeping you guys up to date on news and rumors. What do you think about Kansas City going out and getting somebody like Jadeveon Clowney?
He'd be a monster in that defense under Steve Spagnuolo, who I think is one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. What's funny is that the Kansas City Chiefs have kind of taken a New England Patriots model where they have been willing to take on veterans who have had a down year, and those players are willing to take less money because they know that they're going to be able to compete for Super Bowl. So Kansas City, led by Brett Veach, who, like Andrew Berry, who we just talked about, one of the best young general managers in the league,
For sure.
He's been able to target and pinpoint players who are coming off down years. They've been able to go to KC and be really, really productive.
I actually think, though, like a move like Jadeveon Clowney would actually make a lot of sense for this team as well, because I understand that Kansas City's probably sitting here like, okay, like obviously we lost in the Super Bowl, but how can you get better? Obviously, the more and more edge rushing talent you can go out and get is great, and for Clowney, and this might actually be an opportunity for him to take a one-year deal, go out and have an absolute stellar season on a very talented Chiefs team, and then when the salary cap goes back up, he might actually be able to cash in. But the only thing is, Clowney's never had a 10-plus sack season.
No.
Never. And he wants to get paid like somebody who has had like 6 or 7 of them. But if he can take a cheaper deal, I do think it could be something that Kansas City would definitely be interested in.
Him and Frank Clark, can you imagine that? And yeah, it's weird that Clowney has never had a 10-sack season because he was playing opposite of J.J. Watt. So you'd think that more of the attention would shift over to J.J. Watt. But I do like the prospect Jeremy Screws of Clowney to the Chiefs. That would be fascinating.
All right, let's go to this next question here on NFL Daily. It's actually a super chat from one of the best guys we got on the show, big-time Falcons fan, Burnin' Spades. Sorry I'm late to the show, guys. Anytime somebody says sorry I'm late, my heart does drop. Any updates for the Falcons' defensive depth? Shout out Chat Sports. What do you think? Any updates to the Falcons' defensive depth? I don't think that they've made anything. The only move that they've made in free agency is trading for Lee Smith for a 7th-round pick. He was a tight end.
Love the passion, Burnin' Spades, because the last few days you've asked us about Falcons' defensive depth and their cap situation. Unfortunately, they've been cap-strapped. They had to restructure Matt Ryan's contract. They had to restructure Dante Fowler's contract to free up a little bit of space. So, yeah, they haven't done a ton.
So, they actually signed linebacker Brandon Copeland.
Okay,
so
that's a solid sign.
That actually happened right before we went live here on today's show. So, a little bit of extra depth, but ultimately not a big-time signing. So we are filming this while, guess what, March Madness is going on, and I'm so excited that it came back. So I'm genuinely curious, y'all, who do you think's going to win the NCAA tournament? And if anybody out there is going to say Ohio State, as we are filming this, the number 2 seed Buckeyes just lost to number 15 seed Oral Roberts. And for the first time ever, I think that's Oral that all Buckeye fans don't want.
Yes, Buckeye fans feel as though they've gotten something abnormal in their oral after losing that game.
Oh, man, too many nut jokes. All right, let's go to Anthony S. here. Raiders! Also, can the Raiders sign Mitchell Schwartz? Can they sign him? Sure, but I think you're going to see Las Vegas be patient. You're going to see whether or not he's healthy or not. Played in only 6 games. Kansas City ultimately let him go because they didn't have confidence in whether or not he was going to be healthy. And anytime you're trying to predict what's going to happen with somebody's back, man, it's a really hard thing to see. But I don't know what they do. It also determines of how confident they are in Denzel Good actually being able to play right tackle. Next one's coming in from Jaden Henderson. Appreciate the super chat. What's up? I figured I'd let Chat Sports get some of my birthday money. Happy birthday, Jaden. Type HBD in the comments. Let us know how old you are. Are the Colts going to do something? I thought we'd get to one of these wide receivers. I'll tell you what, man. In terms of being one of the biggest losers in free agency, in terms of being disappointed, Indianapolis came into free agency with some of the most money to spend, and they haven't really done anything whatsoever. So I totally understand your frustration here.
I do think the Colts are in a good spot because I love Chris Ballard as general manager. I think he's fantastic. I'm also huge on Frank Reich. The Colts last year won 10 games with Phillip Rivers, who couldn't throw the ball past 30 yards, okay? And I know they go to Carson Wentz, who's coming off one of the worst seasons of any starter in the history of the NFL. I think what the Colts are doing from a deep threat perspective, they're trying to bank on Paris Campbell coming back from being injured, but he can be a really good deep threat and a dangerous one at that if he can stay healthy.
Another super chat from Jaden Henderson. My guy, producer Sam, here's $3 for you. So, Jaden,
what a guy.
Appreciate it. Sam, I don't know, we'll probably have to get you come on here sooner or later. If we get Sam to 1,000 Twitter followers, he needs 13 more. He's got to, come on here and take a shot of Fireball. All right, let's go to Dale Webb Jr. Should the Raiders be interested in signing Geno Atkins? Atkins, 32 years old, was released by the Cincinnati Bengals on Friday, March 19th. I do actually think that they would be interested in him. The only question is whether or not they go out and make the moves. Like if Geno Atkins would have been released 2 days ago before the Raiders signed Solomon Thomas, Quentin Jefferson, and before they re-signed Jonathan Hankins, there would have been a lot more interest there. I still think that Atkins has a little bit left in the tank, and he's an alpha that Gruden would want. However, I'm a believer that they are done spending money at the defensive tackle position.
Yeah, the problem with the Raiders, man, it is that defense. You know,
it's getting better.
It's getting a little bit better. I think Geno Atkins, you get him for a couple $1 million. That's good value.
So what do y'all think here? Who's been the biggest free agency winner so far? I want you to go down in the comments section and let us know. Actually, Chase Sr. and I, a few days ago, we broke down our biggest winners and our biggest losers. That list obviously might change a little bit because there's been some new signings here or there. I'll say some of my biggest winners, Jacksonville with the amount of signings they've made. New England's been really aggressive as well. I'm not saying all their signings have been great, but there have just been a lot of good signings. And then also I'm going to throw out a team, the Washington football team.
Yeah.
I really liked what they did, getting with a guy like William Jackson. Is there any other teams that maybe come to your mind personally?
I think the Washington football team is a quarterback away from being a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I love that defense. So really like Washington. I think they're going to win the NFC East, but you hit on those teams. I'm with you on those.
Question coming in here on NFL Daily, and it's from Mike James. Let me clear my throat here. Should Miami sign Geno Atkins? What do you think?
Sure. Why not? No, like some of these players, there's like an aura around them because they have name power. Geno Atkins is one of those guys, and they think that Geno Atkins can come into that Miami defense and be the player that he was 5 years ago. It's not going to happen. Now, the Dolphins have a really legit defense.
Yep.
So if they do bring in Geno Atkins, the sole focus is not going to be him on that defensive line because they do have some other playmakers there. I think Miami, a team that won 10 games last year, look for them, if Tua can get it together, to compete for the division opposite of the Bills and the Patriots and make some noise.
I'll tell you what, though, Mike. I think the other reason why you're going to see a lot of people potentially be interested in somebody like Geno Atkins, sure, he's a little bit older of a veteran, but they also lost one of their top defensive tackles, and that was Devon Godchaux, who ended up signing with the New England Patriots on a 2-year, $16 million deal. The other reason why I think this would actually be a halfway decent idea is because Miami, they're very good at running 3-4, 4-3 different styles of schemes here and there, and if you can add a little bit more depth in a player like Atkins, who's sure, you're going to look at the numbers, you're like, wait a minute, this guy played in 8 games, had 1 tackle, and had 1 QB hit. Yes, but That's also because the Cincinnati Bengals, they didn't use him. I think one of the best examples of that is look at a guy like Carlos Dunlap. He didn't really play whatsoever last year for Cincinnati. He goes then and signs with the Seattle Seahawks, basically racks up 6 sacks and is an absolute dominant force for whatever reason. No, I shouldn't say for whatever reason. Cincinnati wanted to give their younger players a little bit more look, and the biggest reason why Geno was let go was because that was a big cap hit. It's not because he wasn't good. So if Miami could get him on a good deal, I do think Atkins would be a pretty solid signing. Evan Hughes, appreciate the question. Do you think the Seahawks should trade away Bobby Wagner for 2 first-rounders, a 4th, and a starter? Yes.
If the Seahawks get that haul back, there's no doubt about it. And if I'm talking about players who I do not want to meet in a back alley brawl, yeah, Bobby Wagner's on that list. He's like 240 pounds. He's cut, and he can ruin games, and he's so physical. But he's 30 years old. So no team is going to give the Seahawks 2 first-rounders for Bobby Wagner.
I don't know if any linebacker, and just pure linebacker, is worth 2 first-rounders, a 4th, and a starter. I mean, even some of the best edge rushers. I mean, look at a guy like Khalil Mack. Like, he's one of the best edge rushers. You'd probably get 2 first-rounders for him. I understand you probably want those 2 first-rounders back because you send them away for Jamal Adams, but there's the only team that's dumb enough to do that might be Houston underneath Bill O'Brien. All right, this next question's coming in here from X-Ray. Is there a certain free agent that you think the Vikings need to pick up? So is there a certain free agent that you think the Minnesota Vikings could go out and pick up? Is there any name that's just like really jumping off the page? I mean, they're pretty set at wide receiver.
Yeah.
They did the right thing moving on from
Jefferson.
Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah.
I mean, could I just be the guy that says, can you figure out a way to just bring back Anthony Harris?
Right.
I mean, it's probably a shitty answer, but it's probably the one that I would want them to do. Their offensive line, yes, I understand you lost Riley Reif, but your running game's solid, your tight end room is good, your wide receiver room is solid. I mean, maybe a quarterback. I don't think Kirk Cousins is all that great, but safety is still a glaring need. Cornerback you need to upgrade on, but you still got some younger guys there they're probably going to invest in. Edge, they did want a guy like Yannick Ngakoue. Could you potentially bring in another edge rusher? I mean, that's definitely up there, but Anthony Harris is the guy I'd bring back.
Yeah, Anthony, and you got familiarity with the system, right? And with Mike Zimmer, we know that his staple is defense. There was a huge regression last year for that Vikings defense, so I think they need some defensive help for sure.
Let's go to Springer SZN. All right, thoughts, great spelling, by the way, about Atlanta signing Eric Harris. So the Atlanta Falcons, they brought in former Raiders safety Eric Harris, and I think the biggest reason why they ultimately did this was pretty simple. They let go of Ricardo Allen to save some money. They're also more than likely not going to bring back Keanu O'Neal, who was also one of the better strong safeties in football. Eric Harris is coming off pretty rough year for the Las Vegas Raiders, but he's pretty solid against the run. That's at least what you're ultimately going to hope for. The other thing that Harris is great at is special teams play, and again, this is one of those players that he's not a household name. He's not really going to be great in coverage, but he was a captain for the Raiders. He was very respected by Las Vegas, so they brought him in for a 1-year, $3.5 million deal.
So the Falcons have the 5th or 6th least cap space in the league right now, so they can't really afford anybody. That's why Atlanta's been so silent. I said this yesterday. I don't think the Falcons are as bad as they've been in previous years. I think it just came down to terrible coaching. I definitely think that they have a coaching upgrade in Arthur Smith. I think offensively, you know, Matt Ryan has struggled the last couple of years since Kyle Shanahan has left, and Dan Quinn was a defensive mind. So the offensive coaching just wasn't good. Head coaching was terrible. Situational awareness terrible. Remember, Mitch, how many games last year the Falcons blew where they were up in the first half of the season? So the talent is there. Unfortunately, they don't have a lot of money to spend right now, but I do think that the Falcons next year could be one of the surprise teams in the league.
If you're looking for NFL videos literally every single day, and if you want them 100% free, well, look no further. Non-stop updates all off-season long. The link is below, youtube.com/chatsportstv. We've been live literally at least 2 to 3 hours every single day this entire week covering NFL free agency. We've been the #1 most watched channel on YouTube around free agency, and it's going on the 3rd straight year. If you also want more news and rumors around the NFL, we got you covered. If there's a trade that happens, we got you covered. We're also going to be, for the 4th straight year, the most watched NFL draft coverage. So if you haven't already, subscribe to Chat Sports and turn on those notifications. Let's go to the next question coming in here. It's from Super Chat, actually. Not Webb's World, Mac Jones or an offensive lineman for Pittsburgh in this year's draft. I don't think Mac Jones slides all the way down to the Pittsburgh Steelers, their draft pick, but if you can get an offensive lineman, if you don't end up bringing back Alejandro Villanueva, it's definitely something to keep in mind. I thought maybe wide receiver, but they brought back Juju Smith-Schuster. Where do you go? I mean, what do you think?
So there's no backup plan when Ben Roethlisberger retires. I think he's zapped. I think he's done. I think he's washed up.
Dwayne Haskins.
You're not going to move forward with Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins. So if the Steelers can maybe trade up for Mac Jones, I think that's a perfect draft choice for them.
This question here on NFL Daily is coming in from Lemon Pepper. Random question. Lemon pepper, better on steak or on chicken?
Chicken.
Chicken?
Love lemon pepper chicken.
Okay, yeah. I'm with you there. Type C for chicken, type S for steak. I know we're kind of getting off the walls, but it's all good. Should Seattle trade for Steven Nelson? So Steven Nelson, actually, as we are filming this video again, we are filming this on March 19th. He was graded basically the A-OK to seek a trade. Played cornerback last season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you're Seattle, Shaquille Griffin already left, 3 years, $44.5 million. He ended up signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Quentin Dunbar also is a free agent. Sure, you already went out and you brought in one guy whose name is escaping me right now.
Ahkello Witherspoon.
Ahkello Witherspoon for 1 year, $4 million. Do you think Steven Nelson could be a potential good fit here for Seattle? I mean, what do you think?
Could be. Yeah, I think Seattle, their defense, as we've talked about, historically bad last year. Now, they were bad at the defensive line. I know they brought back Poona Ford. They were also terrible in the secondary as well. I do like their linebacking core. If they can bring in a cornerback like Steven Nelson and do it responsibly, why not?
It's really going to come down to money. The other issue is this, like, Seattle doesn't have a lot of draft picks, guys. Like, I'm not saying, like, he's going to require a high-end draft pick, but if you're the Seahawks, there's some other talented cornerbacks out there. Now, again, depending if some of these guys get signed, just keep that in mind. But you're not going to have enough money, I don't think, to bring in a guy like Richard Sherman.
No.
Malcolm Butler's probably also going to be out of your price range. Brian Pohl's probably out of your price range. But maybe you get an old veteran like Xavier Rhodes to sign a cheaper contract, could come over to Seattle. Quentin Dunbar, maybe you just end up bringing him back. Adoree Jackson, there's been multiple teams interested in him. The whole USC connection as well with a guy like Pete Carroll. But for Seattle, you already don't have a lot of draft picks, so I would encourage you to hang on to your draft picks, save them, and then if you do want to make a trade, maybe give up a late one. But for Steven Nelson, he's good, but there's other better cornerbacks out there on the free agent market right now. All right, March Madness is finally back. I am super, super stoked. So what I want you to do, try to predict here, okay? Type your Final Four in the comments. I know it's a very, very difficult question to ultimately be able to ask to list 4 teams, but my 4 Final Four teams are this. I had Gonzaga, I had Illinois, Alabama, and then I believe my last team, oh man, I can see it. It's at the very, very bottom of the bracket. It's Houston. Houston, Alabama, Illinois, and Gonzaga. That's my Final Four. If you guys come across this video a little bit later on, seriously, let me know if you predicted Ohio State. I hate to break it to you, though. It's just never going to work out for you. So go down to the comments. Let us know. Type your Final Four.